Hi, everybody. Welcome to Life Stories Podcast, People Helping People. I'm Shara Goswick, your host, and I'm so glad that you're here. Today on the podcast, I speak with Christopher Cochran, who is the author of What's Good About Today. Christopher wrote this book about his son, Christian, who sadly passed away at the age of 23 after battling a rare form of cancer. After reading this book, it sure sounds like Christian was an incredible young man, that even as a child, he had an optimistic, positive attitude. And when he was battling this disease, instead of complaining and griping about it, he often asked, "What's good about today?" He was always looking for the good in today. Our word of the week this week
It's the word of the week.
is today. You know, today might be the day that we need to do some things we've been putting off. We don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know what's around the corner. Today is all we have. And so today might be the day we need to make that phone call, or we need to write that letter, or we need to offer forgiveness. Today might be the only chance that we have. And so I hope, like me, that you will take some time today to reflect and think about maybe some things that we've been putting off that we need to do today. And I hope you'll find good in today as well. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a great day.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Good to
Good.
see you.
You too. Let me turn my volume up just a little bit.
Now I can.
So, okay, we're having yucky weather right now. So if for some reason the internet goes out and I disappear, I'll be right back.
No worries.
Yeah, it flickered off for just a second a couple hours ago, and I don't know that it will, but anyway, just in case, just stay where you are and I will be right back.
Okay. No worries. Yucky weather as in snow, yucky weather?
Oh,
or
no,
what?
no. I'm in Texas. It's just rain. Yeah.
Gotcha. Those
It's yucky.
storms. I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Where
Okay.
are you?
I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
So are
it's
y'all having
cold.
snow?
We're about to get hit, I think, later on today. So
Oh,
we're gonna
wow.
get hit probably for a couple days of just snow. So yeah, it'll probably
Wow.
be, yeah, but it's been just cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I
Way
am
colder
now.
than here. Yeah,
Always
that's why I
colder
put
than
my jacket
Texas.
on. So I'm excited to talk to you. You know, I've talked to several authors who have written books to help people. And this one, I loved the way you honored your son in it. And I know that was important to you in writing it. But as a mom, it was hard. It was hard. I mean, a lot of it, you know, it was very sweet. I totally understand from a parent's point of view, you know, the things that you talked about your son in the book and how important it is probably for y'all to keep those memories. And I loved that. But as a mom, it was hard to read. So
Okay.
I want to hear why you wrote this book and tell people what it's about.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm interested as to the hardness to read. I assume just the difficult parts in the book.
Yeah.
But you know, at the heart of the story is really intertwined with my family's journey, right? A journey that has been both incredible challenges and really deep transformative things. So my son Christian was an extraordinary young man. He was heart full of kindness and spirit of optimism, and he just had a way of bringing light to everyone he met. And so, you know, putting this book together certainly was a journey. I mean, there's multiple journeys in this process, right? To answer your question about writing a book as something as deeply personal as this, and involves the whole family, involves this cathartic process you have to go through. You know, that didn't start probably till about a year and a half after Christian had passed, right? Because there was a year and a half of just trying to survive in a sense as a human being, all of us, and you know, trying to figure out each other's grief, right? Because everybody's grief is different. My wife grieves differently. My children lost their brother, their older brother, who all are very close, really in age and just close personally. So you know, it's one of those things where, you know, all of this is a journey of process and understanding. And, you know, when you put a book together like this, you spend a lot of time. Unfortunately, I have to go back. I'm a journaler, so I journaled this event, and that's talked about in the book. And I actually bring up journal entries, whether it's for myself or you would understand as a mother, his mother,
Yeah.
who put journal entries. And so I think going back and reliving those moments and then trying to put, as best we could, I think I did, is put a story together. In the end, it's a love story about a family,
Yeah.
right? To me, I'm sorry that you cry, and it's okay that you cry. I mean, I guess in a way that taps into emotions.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's Christian would never want that. And I
Right.
knew that when I wrote the book, that was not what I wanted to do, because Christian was always full of hope and joy and positivity. He never liked anyone being sad, but I couldn't tell the story without, obviously there's sadness. We lost our son.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse in the world. So you can't get past that. I think it's just to try to show how a family can overcome these difficult challenges using Christian's inspiration, how he led his life, and how we can put it back out into the world to help others any way we can. That's always been my objective. That's my only objective for the rest of my life while I'm
Yeah.
still here as an earthly being.
Yeah, he sounds like an incredible young man, and you can feel his positivity when you're reading it. Like, I mean, the title of the book, What's Good About Today, something that he said, I think everybody should have that kind of attitude no matter what, whether you're going through something hard or not. What's good about today? It's a great attitude to have, to look for something good in today. There was a lot of
Yeah.
things that he said that really touched me, but I love, like at the end of the chapter, you put all his thoughts. I loved that you did that. But when he said, treat your emotions like passengers, they are just passing through. I love that. That's a
Yeah.
great way to look at it, because man, emotions stink sometimes.
Yeah,
They're
they
not
do.
helpful sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's a great, yeah. Christian he was like a philosopher. He always had
Yeah.
ways of telling us things, an old soul, as people would say.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually, I've heard him say that many times. He says it to his mom, because he understood life in a different way than any of us, and so
Yeah.
yeah, the way he could, when we would get emotional, or even this is pre-cancer, right? He would say those things. So yeah, it's a poignant way of just letting your emotions kind of fleet by you, and let them pass you by. But he had a lot of things that he would say like that would
Yeah.
inspire and really just make you sort of reflect on life in a
Yeah.
general sense. Yeah.
I love that his regret was too much homework. That is a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah, I've told that story before in this it is in the book, and the long version of that is Christian and I, during his cancer treatments, we would go on walks, and point in which he couldn't do that anymore. This happened some months just before his passing. We went on, it was relatively his last walk. And I remember distinctly saying to Christian, do you have any regrets in this life? And Christian and I were really the only ones that had these deep conversations about life, death.
Yeah.
These weren't the things he talked about with his mom, because it's not, wasn't a place for her to be. But me, I understood where he was going. He always appreciated that we had these kind of conversations. I didn't want to have these conversations with my son. I'd rather
Right.
be talking about his girlfriend. I'd rather be talking about his new home, his new job, his
Yeah.
friends, what he was going to do that day. But there were moments that, I we had these deep discussions. And so when I did ask him, I said, do you have any regrets? And he said, yeah, Dad, I have one. And I said, I hung on every word. And he said,
Right.
I wish I had done less homework. Of course I chuckled, and I said, come on,
Right.
Christian, tell me the truth. He says, no, Dad, that's really true. I just wish I hadn't
Wow.
done so much homework. And so that's how his mind worked. There's, to think that was his biggest concern, is that he had done too much
Right.
homework, and could have been doing something else, is
Yeah.
a testament to how he looked at the world and how he put everything together. And he meant every word of it when he
Yeah.
says
I
those
believe
things.
it. I believe
Yeah.
it. So, I loved the book. Wasn't hard to read. The book was very easy to read. And I think you did
Oh,
a great
good.
job
Thank
of,
you.
just sharing each of your family members, how everybody felt and kind of what they were going through. Like you said, some of the journal entries, and I loved all that. I think as a mom, it was hard, because I know that even if you had not gone through this, that's not something that you would want to think about with your own child. And I think as a mom, to think about that kind of situation is scary. And so that's
Yeah.
the part that was hard for me. It wasn't that it was hard to read. The book was very put together very well. And
Thank
you can
you. Thank
tell
you.
that y'all were a very close family. I mean,
Yeah.
that was obvious in all your stories and in the way your daughters, shared what they were going through and how they were dealing with it. And you could just tell y'all were a very tight knit family. So I loved that part. But like you said a
Thank
minute
you.
ago about, you taking those walks and having talks with him when his mom couldn't. That's what I mean. It's just hard as
Yeah.
a mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't, and I can tell you, I don't think his mom, she's read excerpts, right? I don't think
Yeah.
it's something that certainly not an easy read for us as a family. I don't think it's an easy
Right.
read for anyone. And
Right.
I certainly hope that any mother, in particular mothers, their firstborn, that would
Mhm.
have to imagine this. I don't want you to imagine it. I think it takes you down a road that you really don't want to go down. I think in the end, what we're I'm trying to do through inspiration of Christian is to help yourself to, I'm sure you are grateful. You're grateful for your children.
Sure.
Um, but I think it's just to prepare you that life is precious every single
Yeah.
day, and to realize that what you have is beautiful. Even the little things that get you upset,
Yeah.
which used to get us upset in the past, whether my son or daughter got in the right school, or whether they got a B or an A or a
Yeah.
C or even a D. At the end of the day, these are small,
Yeah.
small things, and I think it's to help people understand that life can turn truly on a dime. It
Yeah.
is scary. I never expected that. I can tell you that my wife and I have prayed our whole lives. If you read the book, obviously we've been together for a long time. We're high
Mhm.
school sweethearts since I was 15. And the one thing we prayed about every single night when Christian was born was that he would be safe and healthy. That's all we cared about for all our children,
Right.
is that's all we care about, that they're safe, healthy, happy,
Yeah.
and we only wish for that. Money and things, they come and they go. You're up, you're down. Those things will be constants in your life, and they're just life issues. But when life takes a turn like this, are you prepared
Right.
emotionally? Can you step up and meet the challenge? And it was a challenge, and it is a challenge every day. I can't sit here
Yeah.
and tell you that somehow I'm just this happy-go-lucky guy. It's not true.
Yeah.
Every day I struggle with Christian's passing. He was my best friend and my
Mm.
son. And so, it's something as a family we continue to navigate, but we're close and we love each
Yeah.
other. And the key is love, is how much love we give to one another and how much we give out to everyone else is always
Yeah.
the key to leading a purpose-driven life. And that's what Christian did.
That's awesome.
Yes.
What do you wish for people that, I mean, I guess once they read your book, they will know this, but what do you wish people understood about a journey of having a child who was sick and having to go through cancer treatments and all the things that you had to do? What do you wish people understood about that?
Oh, Lord.
So many things, probably.
Yeah, I mean, look, I go to a quote, and I've said this before, and I think it's in the book, is don't pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. And
Right.
so it's, you know, look, cancer, I hate talking about cancer because it's something Christian never wanted to be defined by, and I don't want to
Right.
define Christian by cancer. He
Right.
he didn't want that.
Yeah.
But I think there are different forms of cancer. The cancer, of course, with Christian was terminal, right? He knew this was a short ride. This wasn't a long ride. It was difficult, but I think what I tell people is to remain faithful to God. That's hard. Keep a relationship,
Right.
and realize and keep your family close and love every moment you can. I can say with Christian, knowing that Christian was going to leave, and I can't remember if I said this in the book, but I probably did, that I studied every line on Christian's face, on every part of his body, to memorize. I wanted to always have a last, and now a lot of it's kind of faded away, but I've really tried my best daily to just instill his every essence of who Christian was, so that I couldn't forget, right? I think
Right.
so. My advice is just have faith in God, have faith in your friends, have faith in that things will be okay, that there is purpose into everything. And that's easier said than done when you're going
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
Unless you've been through it, and I hope there's so little of that, but I know there's plenty of people who've been through these type of things.
Yeah.
But I think that you just got to have strength and perseverance and perspective. I think it's
Yeah.
another thing is perspective is trying to put your perspective in mind. There are so many people I've met in my speeches and I
Mhm.
travel that have come to me and told me their stories.
Yeah.
And they're, again, I speak to different kinds of crowds. Sometimes I speak to large numbers of young adults. That's a different kind
Mhm.
of crowd and a message.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go and I speak and they're adults and they come because they're connected to the story because of the pain they have suffered.
Yeah.
And so they haven't opened up or they haven't even talked about this. I've had come say, I've never talked about this for 10 years about the loss of my
Wow.
child. And I want to talk to you about it. And the pain in which they have had far outweighs mine.
Yeah.
My pain is, yeah, but they lost it maybe in different circumstances, right?
Yeah.
There's suicide, there's drugs. I'm very blessed. I got to say goodbye to my son. I got to be with him. I got to be
Right.
there in every moment. But it's painful because I got to witness everything,
Yeah.
and it's stuck. And it is a form of PTSD, right? It's stuck. I can't get it out of my head. It's there, but I have to. You have to overcome those things. You have to know you're here for purpose, and that's why I do it.
Yeah. I think that any family going through what you've been through, even if it's not the exact same situation, would benefit from this book just to watch somebody else's journey because you're honest about all of it. I mean, you tell the whole story and you even talk about the disease specifically and everything about
Yeah.
it. You're very open through all of it. So I think that any family going through something like this would benefit from reading. But what kind of if somebody's listening and they are just now stepping into a journey like this, what kind of practical advice can you give? I mean, I know you're not a doctor and you don't, you can't give medical advice, but practical advice as far as preparing for doctor's visits and doing things. What kind of advice could you give to somebody just beginning that kind of journey?
In many ways, I am a doctor.
You
It's sad
probably
to
know
say.
enough.
Yeah, but not now. I've kind of blanked my mind from that, but I became really an expert in the world of
Yeah.
cancer, the world of RNAs and DNA sequencing. I studied this 24/7 once Christian got sick. As I mentioned, there was an advisory group, myself, my wife, his uncle and aunt. We were CC advisory group that we worked on this 24/7. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't for us, we wouldn't have found certain RNA sequences to even the DNA places couldn't find these things. But I digress. My point being is, look, I think, yeah, I've reflected on this, and I think when you're a parent and you go through these things, you can have doubts in your mind as a human being that look back and go, could I have seen things differently? Could I have noticed something differently? Or could I have,
Right.
and that's a difficult guilt. I think that's a really difficult guilt for those who lose children to drugs or suicide. And it's tough. But I think when you start this journey, I think a support mechanism around you, um, because in many ways, I think it was Christian could see that it was harder for us than it was for him. He
Yeah.
fully accepted what was going to happen. He lived incredibly joyful and happy. And, I don't know, Christian may have had some internal discussions and obviously upset, but he never expressed that. He was incredibly uh, happy and joyful for what he has. But I
Yeah.
think with parents, I think it's connecting and making sure you're tight with everyone. there is no easy answer for me to give to anyone other
Yeah.
than I do support those who have people who reach out to me. And there's people
Yeah.
who email me who do want to talk. And some don't
Yeah.
want to talk, don't want to, they, they just don't know what they're in. They don't know what they're in store for. They don't want to believe what's in store for them. So it really comes down to how you feel. But I think in the end, you just gotta pray and you know have a good support mechanism around you to do those things. But um I kept busy with research and just trying to save his life. That's all I was focused on, singularly focused to save his life any way I could.
Yeah. So you are traveling now and speaking, and are you getting great responses from the book? Are you getting, I know people are reaching out that have been through this, but you're getting great responses from it.
Yeah, so the book has came out at the in August, late August. I have didn't, I have no expectations when you do things like
Yeah.
this. And I really did. I have one person read the book. I'm happy. And if they got
Yeah.
something from it and it rippled to something else. But
Sure.
I do get the numbers, obviously. I
Yeah.
see where the book's going. I see where the book's selling. And they're better than I could have ever expected.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and they're selling, interestingly enough, they're selling in England, which I'm
Wow.
kind of stunned by.
Yeah.
And to see that there's this global sort of connection. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not something, look, grief is a universal thing. We all deal with it. This
Right.
is not it's not exclusive to Chris Cochran here or yourself. It is something we will all go through one way or the other.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not in the loss of a child, but every grief hits people differently. And so the book I have seen has resonated with people who can read a beautiful story about a beautiful person who, despite the circumstances, still found beauty every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're only guaranteed what we have right now. I'm only
Right.
guaranteed what I have with you right now
Sure.
as I sit here. Once we go off this air and I go about our business and you do too, there's no telling what's going to happen. Hopefully all good things, and we
Right.
want that. But we all know that life does turn on a dime. And
Yeah.
so you just I think as long as you are always in the present moment, it works. But the book is selling very well, and I'm pleased about that. As
Good.
anybody knows, there's no money in books. That's not the
Right.
purpose of this. That's not the reason. The
Yeah.
reason is to get the message out. And I'm hoping one day, maybe it's 20 years from today, maybe it's 100 years from today, I'm not here, but people are still saying what's good about today. They're still
Yes.
using it as a mantra to wake up. I know, or whether it's in the middle of the day when they're having a bad day, they can remind themselves of somebody like
Yeah.
Christian who had the worst circumstances placed before him, but still, under those circumstances, found beauty every single day.
Yeah, those stories are very inspiring, as was Christian's. I would think that writing it was very healing for you. I know that, like you said, grief is a journey and it's everybody handles it different. I would think that writing was probably healing as you did it, even though it was hard. And even hearing responses from people are probably, when you're helping others, I would think that's probably healing too for you and your family.
Well, I think half of that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wouldn't say that it was healing for me.
Yeah.
Being authentic, I think it was just a daily struggle to write the book.
Yeah.
Because it's many times within the course of writing the book, I stopped and I said, what am I
Yeah.
doing here? Is this my purpose? Is this what I'm supposed to do? Would Christian approve of this? Christian was always good at defending me or always telling me I was doing a good job, as a dad. And it gave me reassurance. And so that gave me reassurance to continue. But I don't know that I healed during that. I think the healing takes place, honestly, when I speak, when I
Mhm.
talk to you, when I get a chance to know I shared someone who I care so deeply about and don't want them to be forgotten. I think a lot of parents don't want their kids to ever be
Right.
forgotten, right? I mean,
Right.
even when we leave this earth, I don't want my kids to be forgotten. I want them to always be something. And I think it's scary. That's the
Yeah.
scariest thing for me is to think that my son died and that's it, okay,
Yeah.
move on with life, but I can't do that. I want people to know
Right.
who he is, the true person, and because I think it's an amazing story.
Yeah.
And I so I think the healing comes from talking to people when they engage with me, and I feel like I'm making an impact, and that gives
Yeah.
me healing. I think that fills in pieces of
Sure.
my heart that have been ripped apart. And so it just fills
Yeah.
it in, and I go, okay, thank you, God. Thank you, Christian. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for just allowing me to be a vessel to try to deliver a message to anyone who will
Yeah.
listen. And that's all I do, is just to see if someone will listen to me. That's all I want to do.
Yeah. Well, you are making an impact with your book. And I think that anybody that reads it that's had to go through this or is going through it, I think it will help in their healing process too, to know that they're not alone. You're a parent and you had to deal with these emotions and these things. And I know that other parents will be thankful for that, to know that they're not alone in this. So I was glad that you reached out to me, and I was glad to read the book. It does put things into perspective. Anytime we see anybody that's going through something, like you said, these silly little things we get mad at that really just
Yeah.
don't matter anymore. It puts
Yeah.
things into perspective for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because when I was, and I didn't talk about this in the book, it's just things that happen in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
A woman I was at a gas station, and she actually banged her car into a post, not badly, but it was enough that she was so upset, and it's rightfully upsetting
Yeah.
when you wreck your car. And I
Right.
wanted to make sure she was okay. And she was more worried about, she was at the time just so worried about what her husband was, she was just worried. And I said,
Right.
listen, you're safe. You're happy. I said, I remember she didn't know my story, and I didn't tell her my story. I said, are
Right.
you, are you safe? Are your kids happy? Are your kids safe? And she said, yeah. Are they healthy? Yes. I said, is your husband healthy? Yes. You have everything. This is just a car.
Yeah.
This is just a bender. It's not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And so it's little things I think we get ourselves, and I understand we all
Mm-hmm.
get upset when things like that happen, but I think it's, again,
Right.
perspective.
For sure. Well, you have answered all my questions. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about? I mean, I really want people to read this book because, like I said, it does put things into perspective. And Christian just seemed like a beautiful young man.
Oh,
And
thank
to
you.
have, even from a child, to have that just positive, empathetic, sweet attitude, I think that's just beautiful. And I'm
Thank
thankful that
you.
you shared his story. So,
Oh,
is there
thank
anything
you.
I didn't ask you about that you'd like to tell me?
No, I think the only, for your listeners, I say, is
Sure.
my challenge to the audience is to simply, it's but profound, every day, take a moment to ask yourself what's good about today. It's
Yeah.
a question that can really shift your perspective. Write, you
Mhm.
know, share them with loved ones. Write down, thank God for the blessings in your life. And it's in the small practices, but if it can have a huge impact on how you see the world and how you approach each day. And remember, kindness
Yeah.
matters. Be
Mhm.
kind to yourself and be kind to others always. It's one of my speeches, is one of my segments, is everybody uses the term be kind. It's a very common thing. But I
Right.
always say be kind always, because you never truly
Yeah.
know what someone else is going through. And that's what Christian would say. And through kindness, gratitude, we can honor God and love and
Right.
create ripples of effect of hope and positivity.
I love that. I love that. That is a great mantra to live by. So I thank you for talking to me today, for being my guest and sharing more about Christian. And when I post this, I will have your website and your book and all your info so people can find you and get the book and read it.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my family story and Christian's legacy. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, warm up before that snow gets there.
I will. I will.
Don't stay
It's
too cold.
coming. It's coming.
Not around here. It surely is
No,
not.
it is not. It is
No.
not. Thank
Well,
you.
you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye.